basically just you and me then.
Yeah, well, for now, I think it's going to take a little while for everyone to kind of get Skype going, because it is a bit like, oh.
Hello.
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 Hello, how's it going, man?
Fine, you?
Really good. Like, I'm kind of quite interested. Oh, we've got someone else as well.
Sonny old fella.
No then.
No then.
Right, so this should be quite
Good evening,
interesting.
fellas. Why is that then?
Well, it's because it's something we haven't tried before. This is like a new format. Skype is something I'm not too au fait with in terms of how it works. Like, unfortunately, at my end, we don't have each of our cameras in like a nice little corner. My bit is actually on a free flowing bit, so I'm having to kind of move and change. Oh,
hello again.
Hello. Are you back?
Hello.
Hey.
I think I'm back.
Ah, it's Alex. Alex.
Hello.
Hello. How are we? So who have we got on here then? So who have we got then? I know I can obviously see Daphne. I can see Alex. I can see you, Alex. Two Alexes. I don't know this fellow with the glass. Who's this geezer with the glasses on then?
You might know me because of Alex. If you remember when you showed off Goblin, and I said I had a fluffy cat called Cookie.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So what's your username? Is it Lord Maiden?
Yes.
Yes. There we go. There we go.
And that will be why this is going too fast.
Right. I didn't quite expect that outfit. It was more like a pompous cape and
Lord Maiden.
The Lord Maiden.
Unfortunately, I'm not from Neapolitan. Not from 1800s.
Well, that's exactly what someone from the 1800s would say to cover up their time-travelling escapades, surely. Right, so how is everybody? How is everyone?
Yeah, pretty good, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. I was just saying before, unfortunately, it's.
Excellent. I was just saying before, unfortunately, it's.
Someone's got this.
Yeah, whoever's talking at the moment can't really hear what they're saying.
Oh,
that sounds familiar. Oh, who was that? So someone's talking and it's kind of going. Is it just me? Can anyone else hear someone?
Can hear you. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who have we got? Who have we got here then? So we've got, I think, this gentleman with the black Weekender T-shirt on is Tim. Is that right? Am I right?
No, it's Wayne.
No, it's Wayne.
Sorry, Wayne. I beg pardon. And the gentleman at the bottom with the cap on. Hi. Hello there.
All right, Dave. Right.
So I'm not familiar with all these names, you see. So, who else have we got? Obviously, we've got Alex as well, and we've got Lord Maiden in the top right-hand corner, and Alex and Dagfinn in two little circles at the top. That's all I can see.
Yeah, so I think the way that it works is that it kind of it prioritizes people who are talking. I think so. Because we've got a few folks at the top in little circles, and then we've got like 4 people in big at the front, and then I've kind of pinged my camera and kind of trying to put it in a place that's a little bit not getting in the way of anything. So yeah, it should be quite interesting seeing how things crack on. So what is everyone working on tonight?
Half-lanes.
I am shocked. I am genuinely shocked.
And I'm thinking of doing like a green and pink livery for them. Might look good.
Yeah, I know that you've been mentioning that green and pink livery for quite a time, but you haven't tried it out just yet. So it'll be interesting to see.
No, working on it.
For those of you
Still painting the old ones.
So for those of you who aren't aware, Dagfin's like halflings are all painted in green and pink and have been for years and years and years. So this is he's definitely building his troop. Absolutely, and I think he'll be quite happy with the halfling models I've got planned for the next release, which will be quite exciting. How's about everybody else?
I've got an old dragon that I found in my box of stuff. So
that is an old dragon.
That is an old boy, is that one?
Yeah, I think that's the pre-Kickstarter fire dragon?
Yes.
Yeah. Still got the molds for it, Alex. I've still got the molds. I can still cast them. Yeah.
Boggin Bazaar.
Yeah, Boggin Bazaar, yeah. So, I have them behind me somewhere.
Brilliant.
What about everything else?
Actually, that reminds me.
What are you working on, Mr. Priest?
I'm just about. I've just had a delivery of contrast paints.
Ooh.
Come out of a baby dragon.
Speaking of Boglin's Bazaar, the only one I didn't go for, which I don't think you can see, is
Billy Boo's Up.
Yeah.
Did you
already bought it?
The metal version.
Yes.
Very nice. How about you, Wayne?
I've got some Carrion Rats that I've been putting off for weeks and weeks and weeks. So we've got to get them finished.
Oh yeah, well they're pretty easy. It's just a wash of black with some pink on like the fleshy bits, and boom, done.
That's pretty much what I've been avoiding.
Yeah, and I think as for me, I'll mainly kind of be here chatting about stuff. If you guys have any questions, I'll be doing a little bit of sculpting, but it's going to be more of a kind of a chat, kind of a casual chat kind of stream, rather than this is me sculpting, this is how I sculpt kind of thing, which we have been doing like for the past few weeks. But I've got a few tasty little things on my desk. So I've got the giantess. Obviously, that's what I was working on for the past week or so. But if it's her in comparison to my hand, she's quite big. So I'm quite.
Can't see that. Oh, come on, yeah, difficult to see it.
How's that? And I've also got quite a few of the Imperial models, but you've seen all of these before. Like this guy is pretty much finished.
Can't see it, Alex.
No, well, I don't think you will be able to see it because the way that I don't think my camera is that good at kind of auto-focusing and stuff like that. So it's going to be quite difficult to show off what I've been working on. But I said it's more of a kind of a chill, chatty stream. Like I'll be going back to the more hobby stuff next week, perhaps, or depending on what I can kind of work out, might do more of a gaming stream next week. I managed to collect all the Aqua models from my studio because that's opened back up again now, so we have everything available. So that's good. I've got my babies back. So I might do a Beast Folk versus Undead Raiders game next week. My girlfriend Wings is like really quite keen to kind of get involved as well. But another thing that I was thinking of doing is actually kind of games mastering a game. So getting two players who want to play games or haven't been able to play games because of the lockdown and stuff like that to kind of essentially control what's going on the board, then I will kind of be there to move the pieces and kind of help with the rules and kind of, perform it a little bit. But so that would be quite interesting, because if that works out quite well, then it could be something that we carry on with, especially because I think, especially when the advanced rules come out, and I want to kind of show people how the campaign system works, it would be really quite fun to do like a YouTube series of narrative games following like a series of events and a storyline, and get a few people actually playing it rather than just me. Like, I don't think I've seen any other companies do that, so it might not actually work, but it'd be quite interesting to see if that is an option.
Have you thought about
be a good idea?
Tabletop Simulator on?
I have thought about Tabletop Simulator. Like, I think once upon a time. Oh, hello. We've got someone new in the group.
Hello.
Hello. Introduce yourself.
Hi, it's Les.
Hi, Les. How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad.
Excellent.
Hi, Les.
All right.
Evening, all.
Evening. What you working on tonight?
Found some Albionicans that are in desperate need of finishing.
Very
I've done all the
nice.
harpings. So
Cool. We're just talking about potentially kind of doing games where I would have obviously the camera set up and all the figures on the board, but then I would have essentially separate players on stream where they would kind of tell me what they'd want to do, where to move it, and then I would be there to kind of narrate the story a little bit. But I think it was Dagfin who mentioned looking into Tabletop Simulator, which is like I'm not sure if you guys have heard of it, but it's a computer game essentially that allows you to play board games and war games kind of in a digital space. It takes some work kind of digitizing the models and making them like actual gaming pieces in the game. Like, I think I'll probably do like cutouts of the miniatures and have them as like little standees, but I think there is a way that you can actually import kind of digital files and put them in there, and there would be like 3 dimensions, which would be pretty cool. But I think that's a bit too advanced for me at the moment, so I think standees is definitely something to consider. So I think I might look into that potentially, around the next Kickstarter, perhaps. I don't know. Like, I'm juggling about 3 different jobs at the moment, so.
I see your Patreon. Hey, Alex.
Yeah.
Sorry. I see your Patreon numbers have gone up today.
Yeah, they have, which is really good. Like, I think there's quite a few people at the kind of the beginning and end of the Patreon kind of cycle. That's when they kind of think, well, do I really want to do another? That's when they kind of really consider whether they want to kind of stay on. So I think the fact that I only dropped about six patrons.
I think it was less than that.
Yeah.
I think it was. Well, it went down. It went down about. I thought it went down about 4, but then it's crept up to 2 tonight.
Yeah.
So it's just up and. But like you said today to me that the majority of them are American, and I think they've got a lot more on their plate at the moment, haven't they, than toy soldiers?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not really surprising that people aren't on Facebook looking at toys at the moment. So it's to be expected. It's not exactly like the worst thing in the world, but in the future, I mean, to be honest, with the digital stuff, like, the biggest job for me is trying to find new spaces to let people know about my work. Because it's like, obviously, with the Arkwell community, like, they're all in one place. So when when I release a model or a picture of a model, I show it to you guys, and you're all there in the group. And whereas with the digital stuff, I'm essentially trying to make a new going into new markets. there's a lot of stuff which I don't know about it. Like, because with Arcworld, I've been doing it since 2013, so it's like 7 years now. But with digital, it's a whole... it kind of feels like the new frontier, kind of like... I mean, it was the same when I started doing the fantasy football miniatures in 2018, because it was an entirely new market, so a lot of the work going into it was finding places where to kind of to meet people, to get the word out there about my work. And like, especially with there not being any trade shows this year at all, like, because it's normally trade shows that I do most of my promotion, like, so it's a new challenge, definitely, trying to find new places to kind of say, hey, this is what we're doing, and well, this, come and have a look. Because like, especially like one of the big kind of limitations. One of the big limitations about the digital stuff is that it requires someone with, requires people with 3D printers. Like, I've had so many people who have commented or messaged me saying, "Oh, Alex, like, I love your digital stuff, but I don't have a 3D printer. I don't have access to a 3D printer. So, are you ever going to sell them as, pre-made miniatures?" And like, yeah, like, I am hopefully going to be doing that in the future at some point. But that might be a little bit down the line, because like, actually, looking into the costs of getting digital miniatures produced and cast, it's quite high, because you need to kind of pay a company to do incredibly high level prints, so there's no like kind of striations and lines in it and stuff. So I don't know, it might come in the future, but yeah, at the moment I'm going to kind of stick to the digital files. But it's been really fun, like learning a new skill. Like, it's definitely kind of kept me busy over the quarantine, like getting to grips with ZBrush and things, and working on Arcworld stuff at the same time. Like, it's because with Arcworld, especially second edition, like, I've pretty much worked on nothing else for like a whole year. So straight up, like 12 months solid working on like one project. So it's quite nice to be in a position where I can kind of hop from one to the other. Like, it kind of keeps things fresh a little bit. So yeah, it's been like a really, really like exciting journey. Have any of you guys like printed off any of my miniatures yet?
I've got a 3D printer.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you? And so I don't actually have. I can't look at the chat in the because the way that I'm doing this on YouTube, I'm streaming this on YouTube at the same time. So normally I would kind of click from 1 minute to the other, but because I'm doing like a screen share, like I'm pinging it straight to YouTube, like I can't really come off this screen. So if any of you could kind of keep an eye on the YouTube chat, if there are any comments and things like that. Oh.
Your mum's just coming, Alex, that she doesn't want anybody to see you. Come on, you've got to say hello to everybody.
Get that camera off me!
Get that bloody camera off me!
It's my hair, it's grown.
Oh yeah, because she's paranoid about her hair needs cutting.
Everyone's hair needs cutting.
I know, she looks like Morticia at the minute.
Dagfin, how come you're so like perfectly groomed still?
Actually, actual Norwegian grooming.
Does your wife
actually
hair for you?
Oh, you can't get all
home
at
grooming.
the same time.
I'm here, look. We're here. I can see you just up the side. Look, there she is. Look, spot the packer. Spot the packer. There she is.
But see, I can't see you, Mum, because Dad's on my screen. Dad's in a tiny little circle in the top right-hand corner.
No, I'm not getting that.
No.
I've been in the garden sunbathing today. It's been very warm.
You've not been packing today.
No, I've not been today. Yeah. I've been waiting for the caster. Getting all the models.
Caster's been busy today.
Oh, was he?
Right, I'll tell you what. I'll show you. Right, just have a look here.
Right, see if I
can have a little quick tour of Warploque HQ here. Right, hang on a minute.
Just a second.
So I had to spare a couple of hours. I don't know where you can see that. Can you see that shelf?
All them little.
Yeah,
all the little ones
over there you've got a few more Unithorns. What was the Dark Warlord with the little book?
Oh yeah, the Dark Warlock.
Then we've got Billy Boo's up there. We've got the Handled Halfling Cook, which names escapes me.
You haven't done many though, Rob.
Well, I wasn't doing to get a lot of time.
Elbow chop.
We had to go.
I know. Anyway, listen, this is Warploque HQ, guys. I'll just do a quick. So behind me there, that's the casting area and the packing area. That's Alex's artwork on the wall. And behind me is all the stock. That's all the resin stock.
And then
just
out
resin.
there, then out in the shed, in the garage.
And then we have another place outside that's got all the metal. And we have a lockup as well. So that's basically what happens here. Oops, sorry. Not brilliant, but there you go.
Where's Alex then?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh yeah, he's in the room.
Hello.
Yeah. I've seen you all painting, doing your bits and bobs.
Even away.
Yeah.
See,
stopping him. You're
I'm not
stopping
doing
him
that.
from casting, though. You know that, don't you?
I'm not casting. See these? These are the original old molds from the Kickstarter, and I've made a new set. So I'm just breaking them up and chucking them away. So they're that knackered, they're just crumbling in bits. So I've had to make a new set.
Which models?
So I'm just disposing of them by breaking them up and chucking them in the bin.
What's the model? What's the model that they were for?
The heroes, the Sons of Hobbleshire. I made new ones. I made a new set actually. So these are the old ones. They're absolutely goose. So I made it.
Alex.
Yeah.
Do you remember bringing those to Salute 17?
I do. I think because that was when, like, I don't think the Troubles in the North stuff, they weren't ready yet.
It wasn't.
So, like, I remember that was like
Troll
the big
Bridge,
release. Yeah. So the Troll. Yeah. So like Troll Bridge was released on Kickstarter in 2016. And I was able to kind of deliver a few of the models to Salute attendees at Salute 2016. And then I did Troubles in the North September, or was it September, October 2016? But I hadn't got the models ready by the following Salute, so I was like, well, I need to sell something. I can't just show off all my stuff and be like, yeah, sorry, can't get it. So I decided to do a kind of like a bit of a passion project, like because I had the idea of doing like a Halfling Civil War kind of thing. So I made those models, and I actually at the time was like, so the set which sells the best is going to be like the way that the Halflings will look for second edition, because even back then I was gearing up to doing the second edition of the game, and I was like, well, they're either going to be more kind of 18th century Napoleonic style like the Albionicans, or they'll be kind of stick to their kind of medieval style that they were in first edition. And the Sons of Hobbleshire won. They were the most popular ones, so I decided to keep the medieval kind of look for second edition, and that's kind of why a lot of the models in the starter set for the second edition, the Halflings, are based off the models from the Heroes of Hobbleshire set. Like, some of them have only had like quite minor changes. Like the sheriff is pretty much the same. I just kind of removed his mustache and sculpted a different face, and I think there's a crossbowman that's pretty much the same as well.
crossbowmen as well. Yeah, just had a bit change in the pouch.
Yeah, just change the pouch a bit, tighten up the sculpt a little bit because it'd been like a year or so since I made them, so I like to kind of upgrade the sculpt a little bit. But yeah, because I was like, and then I used them like as a base to sculpt the rest. But yeah, it was quite interesting seeing which design was the most popular, especially for the halflings, who have been like, without a shadow of a doubt, the most popular faction. Like, I think the only, at least according to first edition numbers, going off the Kickstarter, the first edition Kickstarter, it was the halflings at the top, and then the Imperials, Albionicans, just after them.
Halflings at the top, and then.
Oh, I could hear myself just then.
Yeah, sorry, I've just got it on YouTube, so I can see the comments as well. You see,
right? Like maybe then put a mute on the YouTube thing.
I have done that.
All right, cool. Yeah. Like, are there any comments?
Yeah, I'm just now. Can you not see this, Alex?
No, I can't. I can't. Look.
All right.
Like,
Alex, have you got YouTube on your phone?
Oh yeah, I didn't actually consider that.
You can have it in your palm and read the questions.
Yeah, true. Just need to find the.
Tiny Alex.
Yeah.
And everybody. Tiny Magic says good evening. Eddie Holt says sorry, no cam. Paul Elston says hello.
Oh, hello, Paul.
Ian Foster's on as well.
Oh, brilliant.
Good evening, Ian. Jonathan Young says afternoon all. Oaken Bronze says, how do I make technology work? Ruddy laptop. Paul Elston's joined the Patreon today. Thanks, mate.
Oh, brilliant. I never even knew you had a 3D
printer. Jonas is on as well, says, hi, Rob and Dawn. Nice to see you guys.
Oh.
So, yeah, that's where we're up to so far, at least, anyway. So,
brilliant.
Yeah, so hi, everybody that's watching on YouTube.
Ooh.
You can't put that there.
I'll put it somewhere.
Yeah, I've got the chat up now, so boom, we're sorted.
Well, you can comment now then, Alex.
Yeah. So do any of you guys, either kind of on Skype or in the chat, do you have any questions about Arcworld, what's to come, the directions where I'm going, like contents of future Kickstarters and stuff like that? Which faction are you kind of looking forward to seeing, like, revised for second edition, or which faction are you quite looking forward to seeing even more content for that's already been visited? So yeah, have any questions? Fire them away.
Yeah.
I do have one. So, when the Troubles in the North stuff came out, or was on Kickstarter, a friend of mine backed it and gave me the Norsguard.
Oh, okay.
And when the second edition stuff came out, the Norsguard only had a few units, as well as a Greater Majau, which I don't think actually exists. If I'm thinking it's a 40mm model.
Yeah.
When you get around to remodeling them and sorting them out, will you be updating to include all of the rules for all the models involved?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the big things is when I do update a faction to second edition, not only will I update the models, but I'll also update the rules as well. Because obviously there are quite a lot of you who already have collections of existing older factions from first edition. I wanted to give you the opportunity to play second edition with them, so that's why I gave the starter warband rules essentially for them. But because obviously writing rules takes a lot of time, I thought that updating them with the second edition models as they're released would be the best way to go. But one of the great things about second edition that I've tried to include is the fact that a lot of the the troop types and the models from first edition can be made by essentially equipping base stats with different items and equipment. So even though like the stats for the Norsvald, for example, I've only got the Thane, the Hall Guards. You know, you could kind of construct the different models from first edition, like for example the Huskarls, which are like the elites. Like you could, for now, play them as Hall Guard, armed with light armor, armed with a two-handed weapon, and that would kind of represent them quite well. Obviously, they will get their own rules kind of going forwards when they're re-released for second edition, and like some of the factions will have quite a bit of a kind of a redesign as well in terms of what characters they'll have, because like one of the things that I'm quite mindful of is that I don't want to essentially just
hello.
It's Dad's phone.
Mute the mic.
Who's calling it this time, eh? Who's calling?
It's your grandma, Alex.
What does she want?
Everybody's listening to your conversation, Mother.
So, I forgot where I was then.
Alex, Grandma says, "Why have you got a halo over your head?"
Oh, this. It's it's like a photography light. So it's what I use for when I'm sculpting and painting and doing live streams and stuff like that. It's essentially like this massive ring like this, and it just kind of blasts light out, and it just so happens to look like a cute little halo when I do this, which is quite nice.
Yeah, well, Grandma says it suits you, Alex. Personally, I think you look like Simon Templar. If anybody's old enough to remember that.
Yeah, the same.
There's one or two people smiling there. They remember the same.
I'm far too young for that kind of nonsense.
Yeah, okay. See you later. Fine. Sorry about that.
That's alright.
Alex's grandma lives next door to us, so she literally is in walking distance. So she's watching us at the same time, you see. So.
Right. Okay.
Mother will be watching, no doubt, too.
Why isn't she there with you?
Oh, you know what she's like.
Don't look at me! Don't get your camera on me!
Yeah. I know.
I don't look like that, do I?
So we've got to be on best behaviour because we got Mum and Grandma
Oh
watching.
no! Like
not best behaviours. It's fine. Just say it as you say it as you feel.
Oh no, they don't mind. It's only if I act up that I'll get telling off. So I've got to be on my best behaviour. You lot can do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, that's what's happening with the Norsvald. So chances are that they'll probably be visited. I'm thinking like late next year, because I've got quite a few factions to work on up until that point. Seeing as the Troubles in the North factions were the factions that were most recent in terms of the models, I thought I would do those last in like this kind of a sculpting cycle. But I've got the Imperials, or also known as the Albionicans, but they're called the Imperials in second edition. Then once they're done, I'll be doing the Beorcs. Then after them, I'll be doing the Gremlins, and I'm going to be trying something new with those and doing them as like one faction Kickstarters. And kind of, because obviously with the second edition Kickstarter, there was 4, and it was quite, obviously I had quite a lot going on with trying to update and do stuff for 4 factions at the same time, whereas I think it would be quite interesting if one faction got all my attention like per time. Kind of like how I've done the Kickstarters for my Warp Team Fantasy Football teams, where that was just one team rather than a number of teams at the same time. So it'll be an interesting experiment. And then after then, that'll be the old kind of the original factions. So the first 6 that I first did back in 2013, all those will have been upgraded to second edition with the models and the rules. And then that's when I'm going to be introducing the 2 other completely new factions for 2nd edition, which will be the Vampires and the Wizards, which I'm very, very excited about, because like they're gonna be quite fun, wacky races to play. There's going to be a lot of customization for them in terms of like the wizards, in terms of like their schools of magic and stuff like that. And for the vampires, you'll have different bloodlines and stuff like will affect how they look and how they play in the game. Like I've got quite a cool kind of story narrative for them as well. I think the expansion is going to be called Blood and Magic, so it's going to be very about them kind of clashing, and I'll kind of go more into the lore of the eastern areas of Upper Arkworld as well. So that'll be quite cool. And then after then, I'll be doing like the Troubles in the North factions, and I'll probably do all those at the same time, and call the release like Return to the North or something of that ilk. But yeah, I've got a lot on my plate, guys. I'm really excited to kind of see where things go, and like I must admit, it is a shame that like the various shows and things have been cancelled this year. I mean, obviously, like it's completely understandable, but you know, part of the hype of doing a big release is taking it to Salute and kind of showing it off and stuff, and getting that kind of immediate reaction from people when you do kind of give them a demo game or show them the miniatures in real life and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be quite interesting going forward, how the kind of the landscape of trade shows will be. So putting this question out to you guys, would you feel safe going to trade shows? Obviously not right now at the moment, but perhaps in a year or so where the situation would be lessened, but there might still be like a kind of a threat of it. I mean, what do you guys think?
Well, very difficult question. I think it's a vaccination time.
Yeah,
where people have some confidence. But I think that an element of social distancing and big shows and lots of crowds, there's going to be restrictions on that for a long time. For our own safety, I think, or the safety of loved ones who are vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
It's difficult.
Yeah, I think especially now they're starting to open local markets.
Yeah.
So it might be an idea to look at that and see that as a way of going into the trade shows.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a very good point. Kind of see how the response to that, because I think one of the things that I think affects particularly wargaming trade shows is that especially if you look at the historical wargamers, there are quite a few older gentlemen, and I can imagine how for quite a big chunk of the attendees, chances are they might be quite high risk or living with someone who's very high risk. So I think even if those social distancing guidelines are enforced, I think it's more the kind of the confidence in whether or not places with big crowds are a safe environment anymore. And I think it's going to be quite interesting how the community will adapt to that, because trade shows are a big part of the hobby. Going to trade shows every year, catching up with friends, checking out new releases from your favourite companies, playing big games with people who you don't normally get a chance to play games with. And I think, perhaps it could be an opportunity for kind of smaller meetups to become more common. One of the things that I went to I think it was in February, is a really, really great gaming weekend up in Stockport, Manchester, called A Gotham to Samaria. And it's hosted every few months. I think it's 3 times a year. And there's about 30 people there. And it's in this big gaming hall. And it's a really good community. The same guys go every few months. And I went with my friend Ian Foster, who's in the chat, who's a big Arkworld player. And we had an amazing time. you know, we met new people. I met some Arcworld customers. We actually delivered some Kickstarter pledges early as well, and a lot of people really enjoyed that. And you know, we got that opportunity to play games, and it was a lot more intimate than, you know, a big trade show like Salute. And I can imagine it would be a lot more manageable as well from like a health and safety point of view if these kind of measures are stuck to going forward. So I think if communities, especially like gaming clubs and stuff like that, it would be amazing if there were more kind of weekenders where people just kind of get together and play games. Like I'm very keen to carry on with the Arcworld weekenders as well, because I think we had such a great time in January, and it was really great to kind of touch base with a lot of the community, you know, faces that we see every day commenting on the Arcworld group. And it was really nice kind of meeting them, hanging out with them, playing games and stuff like that. And I think it was more of a hobby weekend that weekend because a lot of you guys were getting your Kickstarter stuff. So I think for pretty much the entire first day, it was just painting and gluing together. So not as many games, but I think, you know, next time. I mean, originally the plan was that I was going to do one in July and kind of make it like a 6-monthly thing. But obviously with the current situation going on, I think it may be a little bit wiser to wait until same time next year in January. So, because I would hate for people to not come because they didn't feel safe or they didn't feel like it was the right kind of environment for them, especially if they themselves were vulnerable or, you know, loved ones that they were in contact with were vulnerable. But you know, I'm just excited. I think people are quite missing that kind of, I think the gaming element, you know, being able to meet up with friends and stuff for games and things like that. I mean, it was like quite not frustrating, but like obviously delivering the Arcworld Kickstarter, getting everything out there and stuff for people, but I don't think anyone's actually been able to play any games at all because everyone's in lockdown. So I haven't actually had that much response in terms of how the game plays and stuff like that from people, because I think people are like, well, I can't really go to any of my gaming clubs because, you know, we can't go. I think I've had a few messages from people who've been able to have games with their kids or with their like girlfriends or partners or whatever, and so that's good. But I think it will be really nice to kind of get these gaming communities together again, because I think it's been a long time. People will miss their friends. I mean, what do you guys think? Like, do you go to regular gaming clubs or anything like that? Like, are you missing out on playing those games with your friends?
Yeah.
Indeed. So yeah, I haven't really played a game since February. Well, apart from the one I tried to play with my son yesterday, but that's basically it. I had a bit of a grin when you said that you forcing the girlfriends to play with them just to play this game with me. I'm going to be completely grumpy for the next few weeks.
Well, like
really, seeing the quarantine strain kick in.
And I think that was one of the reasons why I wanted to get the solo rules out there as soon as possible, so that people can try and have a bit of a play about or whatever, kind of get a bit of practice in before the gaming clubs open again.
Maybe that's a little bit of a challenge we could have between all of us to have a go at the solo rules.
Ooh.
Have a go at a game each.
That would be very interesting. Like, because I would love to obviously get the wider community involved and stuff like that. So I guess just put like I don't know how would we do it? Do you think?
Posting battle reports.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I meant each of us have a go at the solo rules. And just sort of record our game, maybe. You know, give feedback, that type of thing?
Oh, absolutely. That would be really, really good. And as I was saying, like, it would be great if, like, we do it, but then obviously there are a few people who couldn't make it on the stream and stuff like that, and I think they might want to get involved with this as well. So I might do like a post tomorrow, just kind of saying, we're all going to give the solo rules a try. Like, use all your painted models and kind of let us know what you think. And I don't know, I could do like a little competition to see like a £5 gift voucher or something like that, something small, but just like a little kind of encouragement to get people in the community involved. So
I just challenge myself to have a go at a game.
Oh yeah, like that's by all means. Like, I'd love to see what you think, because like it actually worked quite. Because the version that I put out, like, it was literally the first draft of it. So it was very, very raw. I just put it out there just to see what you guys thought, and like I did play through it on the stream when I did do the kind of the game, and it worked well. Like, oh, I heard, was that Goblin? Sorry, it's just my cat. Shall I go and get her, guys? You want to meet Goblin?
It is tradition.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Tuesday tradition, isn't it?
I'm sending my granddaughter today. Can't really see her though, can we? Yeah, going in a little circle.
Is my microphone working? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right then. I've been quite lucky. I've been able to play with the children. So.
How did that
Can you loud?
Oh, she was just having a tea, so I don't want to drag her away.
She's eating again. No wonder she's fat.
She's not fat. She's a growing girl.
She's fat.
She's only
fat.
She's only a little kitten, and she's my precious baby. I'll have enough of that. You shouldn't be so mean about your granddaughter, Dad.
Alex, don't worry. Leave him with her granddad. She'll soon be bigger when she comes back.
Yeah.
Grandparents always overfeed their grandkids.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Dad, I reckon you're like raring to go looking after Goblin. See, Mum doesn't like her. Mum's like, I don't like cats. It's not a proper cat. She hasn't got any fur. But Dad is proper broody for her.
Oh yeah.
You are, yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait to see her.
Well, when she's finished with the tea, I shall bring her onto the camera. What's that, Dad?
Has your brother been in touch with you today, Alex? Sorry, I'm talking a bit of a family chat here. Has your brother been in touch with you today?
He called me just as we went live.
Right.
So I had to be like, "Oop, sorry, Will."
What's that saying? I didn't see that on the palm of your hand there. What was that?
No, I said he called me just as we were going live, so I had to kind of like swipe on the kind of the hang up button, just be like, "Boop, sorry, Rob. I'll call him back later."
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
I won't tell you what it's about. Then I'll wait. Anyway, sorry, guys. Carry on.
That's all right.
That's fine. It's fine. So does
It's not the first time you've done it.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any more questions?
There was a few in the chat. So Ulster Nation asking what's the next dragon?
Ooh, oh yeah. What's the next dragon? Ooh, well, I'm very, very tempted, and I think this is probably going to be something that I am definitely going to do, because I am a whimsical creature at heart, and if I plan to do something, I generally just do it. Do a second edition sculpt of the Fire Dragon. So the old first edition Fire Dragon has been a firm favourite for very, very many years. It's been there for like 7 years. It was like one of like the flagship models for the first edition Kickstarter, and I think it helped me get a lot of recognition, and it was a good kind of poster child for the campaign. Like, I was able to share that model around, and people really, really seem to like it. So I feel that it's time for me to do an updated version as a homage to the old girl. Like I'll keep the design roughly the same, but obviously with a new pose and a new, obviously my updated style, and I'll probably pair it with some other models as well. Kind of maybe make like more like a campaign out of the release. I know that a lot of you are still waiting on the campaigns for the Forest Dragon and the Arcanid Queen. Now we're kind of working on that in conjunction with the advanced rule set. We'll probably be releasing them at the same time. Mr. Ian Foster, who's given me a massive help with the project, like he's already done some like amazing work. Like I've read the first draft and his ideas and things like that, and I think it's going to be really, really fun for you guys to play. And obviously, like, we're still working on the advanced rules, which is like brings into like the campaign mechanics and stuff like that, which will allow you to kind of have linked narrative games, like upgrade your characters, give them like different like new skills, like based on like XP and stuff like that. Give you tips and tricks on ways to build storylines out of consecutive games, and as well as kind of include a few kind of extra game modes for Arcworld on top, like the solo play version or the mass battle version that I worked on a little bit as well. Did the first draft, which essentially makes it easier for you to have like much bigger games, like 3,000 gold, 5,000 gold, almost like, Warhammer, Kings of War, Age of Sigmar style, like, clashes. Now, to help out with those, one of the things I'm thinking about doing in the future is doing, like, kind of infantry packs, where I would sculpt, more, not as characterful models as like the skirmish versions, but kind of more rank and file ones for each of the factions, just so you can kind of build up your forces a little bit easier. Like, one of the ideas that I had was to actually digitally sculpt them and have the files so that you can essentially print out as many as you want, so you can really make like really big kind of units and stuff. But this is far in the future, so I'm just kind of spitballing here. But I've always got like 5 different projects on the go at any one time, so it's quite easy to kind of sit back and kind of let my mind get carried away with itself.
Alex,
seems like
sorry, Dagfin.
Elsa Nation was very pleased with that reply. I was like giggling with excitement.
Ooh!
Please more dragons.
Please more dragons.
Yes. Also, Jonas asks if the grave horn to the elves will ever be released. So I guess that's some sort of secret you've been.
Well, it was actually rules for it in the Tribbles in the North book, and it was for a model that I did start, but I never actually got around to releasing. But I think I probably will sculpt it at some point, because one of the things that I'm wanting to do for each of these next Kickstarters, for the Imperials, for the Bayoks, for the Gremlins, is sculpt characters for each of the existing factions as well. So there'll be like a Halfling release, there'll be an Elf release, there'll be a Beastfolk release, and there'll be an Undead Raiders release. And so the Gravehorn it probably, rather than its own kind of unit type, because the kind of the types are fixed in 2nd edition, it'll be like a piece of equipment. So I'll introduce a new piece of equipment that you can equip to a warrior, for example. So a Gravehorn, for those who don't have the Tribbles in the North book, it's like essentially it's like an elf with like a big gold like brass horn, like kind of like one of those Celtic horns. Oh yeah. So you can see on Wayne's.
Yeah. Wayne's got it all there, look.
I didn't know it was missing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I must say, Wayne, that's a mighty fine collection you've got behind you there, my friend. I love that shit. But with the sails are wafting in the breeze there is looking good.
It's a warm here, so I've got the fan on.
No.
So,
I thought it was just for like kind of cinematic effects.
I didn't realise.
You've got a hell of a
the same
display
ship
cabinet.
you used your display a couple of years back.
Right.
Did you get?
Oh, so Alex, can I just rewind about Paul Elston actually did say to reply about him signing up for the Patreon. He said that yeah, me and Spud have been helping out Lion Tower get going, so I thought it only right to help you guys out as well. Bless him.
Oh, thank you very much. I mean, for those of you who don't know him, like Dan from Lion Tower Miniatures, he's an incredible digital sculptor. He actually has been incredibly helpful helping me start with ZBrush as well. Like, he was actually the person to suggest that I get into it and start the Patreon, and he's kind of been a bit of my Mr. Miyagi during my training. Like, I'd be kind of fiddling about and then be like, oh, how does this button work, or how do I do this effect, and he'd help me out. So Dan, if you are there, or whoever, if you do know him, thank you very much. You've been an absolute treasure.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that was something I wanted to ask. So one of the things that I want to do specifically for the Imperial Kickstarter is do you know how I did like the Arkworld poster for 2nd edition. Like, I think a few of you got it a little bit later on because we didn't get them delivered in time to for the first batch of shipping. But I want to start to do like lore posters. So for the Imperials, for example, and potentially for the Halflings as well, and down the line, as I want to do like a kind of like a chart of lots of different regiments with their different kind of iconographies and their uniform colours and a bit of backstory and lore to it, just to kind of help you guys, like introduce you to the world a little bit more, but also give you a bit of inspiration for when you are doing your own paint jobs. Like, I did do something similar in the 1st edition rulebook, and I think I'd quite like to kind of revisit that for 2nd edition in terms of that, but in more of a kind of tangible thing rather than just putting it on a PDF online. I think it would be quite nice to have it as like a poster. I'll do it. I'm definitely doing it for the Imperials. I'm definitely doing it for the Halflings because, you know, they have uniforms. Like, it'd be quite fitting to show like the different regiments for the Imperials, or the different kind of town iconography and different uniforms for the Halflings. That fits quite well. Probably for the Elves, because they have different skin tones, different like tattoos and stuff. I could tell a bit more about the various elf clans and things, which I think would be quite cool. There are some which potentially wouldn't work as well, like, but I'll look into it. But does that sound interesting to you guys?
Definitely.
Yeah. Beast folk, you could have different species.
Yeah, that's very true. I could do different species and things like that. And that's the thing. Like, it's when you're kind of creating a world, it's very difficult to kind of know how much detail to go into it, because it's like, I know a few of my friends who do D&D campaigns and stuff like that, and they put so much time and effort into creating their worlds, creating backstories for every single town and stuff like that. And like, in an ideal world, I would love to do something like that. You know, some of my friends have done incredible work, like my friend Paddy, who a few of you who went to the Arkworld Weekender will have met, who did the D&D game there. Like, he's done some incredible work creating his world, and obviously I would like to do a very similar thing for Arcworld, and I already have done a lot of kind of world building already, but I think the thing that I'm kind of not struggling with but thinking about is how do I deliver that to you guys? Because if I'm just doing kind of free PDFs online and stuff like that, it kind of feels like, well, it's a lot of work to write like essentially a novel and then just have it online that maybe like 5 people will read. But then like, is it better to kind of hint at the world and let the players kind of fill in the gaps with their own stories and their own kind of not fan fiction, but their own content? Or would it be better to just, you know, do like a big book and just release it and then take a year out of sculpting? Because it would. That's the thing. That's the thing. Like, if
don't stop sculpt.
And well, this is the point. Like, I would love to do more writing, but writing takes so much time, like incredible amount of time and dedication, and like, I would love to be able to do that, but I am sculpting full time already on top of painting the miniatures, doing the social media, like doing the rules as well. Like, I've only got so many hours in the day, and I'm not sure whether or not doing like it, because like in a dream world, I would love to do like a kind of an Arcworld almanac. Like, I think I did mention this in the last week's stream, I think, about doing almost like an explorer's guide to Arcworld, which would be like a big hardback book with all the details of all the countries and all the races and all the monsters and the kind of the politics and the history and stuff like that, very much as if the explorer was kind of cataloguing all the information. But that would take an immense amount of work, huge amount of work, and you know, if I gave it to a publisher or something that could potentially sell it outside of, you know, the Arcworld circle, then it might be worth it, but I couldn't take that amount of time out of sculpting for Arcworld or rules writing, and especially now that I've got Digital Workshop as well, I feel like it may have to be only a dream. But then one of the things I do really enjoy is kind of giving little snapshots and snippets of fluff kind of tied in with the rules as well. So I don't know, we'll see how things go in the future.
I think to answer your question, as I've been watching the Arcworld group and seeing people post stuff and making up ideas for towns and backgrounds and war bands and stuff like that. So give the bare frame of the world, tell us where all the races are, what they're basically about, and let us do the nitty-gritty things of what. Yeah. Yes, well, not gaps, huge gaps. So you just make the big picture and all the details, all the, for us hobbyists. Maybe so, like if you manage to make a forum for people to share stuff and easy to catalog it, that way we can go about and see somebody wants to start a new Albionican army, and go and look at what's already been done and get inspired by it instead of having to search on Google and find loads of different ones of the ones you've made it from different places.
Definitely. Like, I am quite sad about the death of forums. I think because obviously most hobby content is on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter and stuff like that. As Dagvin said, it is incredibly difficult to catalogue content. Whereas if you're in a forum, obviously there are different boards, different like blogs within the forum itself, and I don't think please do correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I'm not sure how many people actually post on forums anymore. Oh, we have a hand.
Just the one.
Just the one. Which forum do you post on?
The on tabletop one.
And how is it?
It's incredibly lagging when you're trying to upload pictures.
Really?
But it's not too bad, and quite a lot of people go on there. So,
to be honest, I didn't even know they had a forum.
Yeah, they've got quite a lot of stuff on there, so it's worth a look.
Cool. How about the rest of you guys?
It tends to be social media stuff, Instagram, etc. That's where things are going. But then there's something to be said for a blog, a dedicated kind of blog, blog posts. You can kind of talk about hobby, talk about gaming, talk about lore, and it can kind of be structured.
Yeah. I mean, another idea that I had was potentially like a wiki, like an Arcworld Wikipedia thing.
Yes, that's a great idea. Yeah.
So that would allow people to, it would also allow the community to contribute to it as well. Like, I think obviously I would kind of start it off and I would put all the content that I had in, and then perhaps there was be a series of moderators that would take suggestions of content of new towns and things, or new races and stuff. I mean, once again, it would be a huge amount of work, and it would be something I would genuinely have to consider whether or not that would be worth the investment. But it's potentially a solution that's internet savvy, but kind of harkens back to the more kind of catalogue setup that the old forums used to have.
Alex?
Yeah?
Oakenbruns has said Lead Adventure Forum is pretty active and a great site with a good community.
Oh, Lead Adventure Forum. Oh, I have heard of that, actually.
Sorry, I said Lead, I beg your pardon. I can't read her. Yeah. And just going back as well, what he said is, why not work out the cost time for the almanac and run it as a Kickstarter? If you don't get the backing you need to make a good business sense, then it does no point that. Jonas has said you should do a book just with fluff and illustrations.
Well, one of the reasons why I'd want to do the almanac would be because, if you wanted to do RPG sessions set in Arcworld and kind of have that as a source book, and especially with the campaign setting as well, systems as well, it would be good to kind of give some inspiration. But that is a good point. I think I would obviously have to do a certain amount of work beforehand to demonstrate what the almanac would look like, and I don't know, potentially it would be better off to wait kind of later on, once, because obviously I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that as each release happens. Ooh, what's going on there?
Forum, so you could see it. So that's the on tabletop one. You can see sort of over here that it's active, but it's not massively active.
And how are they with people who actually? Because I think one of the difficult things about me getting involved with various communities is that there are some people who are a bit touchy about advertising. Because I've been suspended from a number of subreddits for posting my stuff, and they're like, you can't post that because it's advertising your work. Boom, get kicked off. So I always feel a little bit awkward about that kind of stuff, unless...
It's probably worth PMing them, because it's on tabletop. Obviously, they do their weekender show and they showcase games and what have you anyway. So I obviously don't know how they do with advertising stuff, but something to consider.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they've mentioned your game a few times on the weekender shows.
Yeah, they've been really, really good, the lads on tabletop. Ben in particular always seems to keep on track with my releases. Sometimes I kind of give him a bit of a nudge and say, just go and check out my Facebook page there, man. I've just released a new model. Why don't you go over there and take a look? But normally they're just like, they do it without me even asking, and so it's really, really good. So I think I might drop them a message tomorrow and be like, how's it? What's the situation with game creators posting on the forums? Like, do I get a slap on the wrist because I'm advertising my own stuff, or is it the kind of thing that you like to welcome? Because it is. Oh, sorry, were you going to say something?
No, sorry, I coughed.
Oh, fair enough.
So I was just about to say, no, surprisingly they're really good. So you've been posting up your Patreon stuff, like the Wolf Rider, and you had the Giantess last week, and they seem to be on top of it and post up like 1 or 2 days later. So I saw a post on their news with your Giantess on there.
I know, they're brilliant. They're really good.
Yeah, they're one of the main sources of my miniature news.
Well, I mean, I guess that's why they're so popular, because they do have their ear to the ground when it comes to like all the various kind of miniature, not only the big guys, but like the kind of the smaller guys like myself as well, and like and I think something else that I'm quite thankful for is that the smaller companies often get just as much enthusiasm from the community as the bigger stuff. I mean, obviously, you know, the big heavy hitters like Games Workshop and whatever, they get much more engagement and stuff, but you know, it is really nice to see them put as much emphasis on the more indie games and ranges as the big ones. Just really, really nice to see, because I think it's always kind of a risk for smaller news sites to cover smaller games, because it just doesn't get the same amount of clicks as, you know, if you just do Games Workshop stuff. I mean, it's the same with any kind of industry, you know, you always get more engagement when you're talking about the heavy hitters, but it's good that on Tabletop use their clout to get over that hurdle, because they've already got the footfall from people coming for the big stuff. Then they kind of sneak in some of the indie stuff at the same time, which is really, really nice, and I'm incredibly grateful. Like, whenever I'm at Salute or UK Games Expo, they always come and have a chat and cover my stuff, which has been really, really helpful. But in going back to the whole Kickstarter for the Arcworld book, that is definitely an option. I think I would have to work out how much funding that would require, and I think I potentially would probably sculpt a few models to go with the book, just as a way to kind of attract more attention and raise a few extra funds and stuff like that. But what I was saying before was, like, I'm tempted to kind of wait until later on, once all the kind of the core factions are released, because I'm hoping that each release will kind of expand the community a little bit. It gives more time for people to get into Arcworld, get invested in the system, get invested in the world. So hopefully when I do the big book, there'll be more people there to be like, actually, yeah, I really want to know more about Arcworld. I'll get involved with that. I mean, if I'm doing it, I would want it to be like a big meaty hardback book, probably A4 as well. I think. I mean, I know that most of the books all the books I've done so far have been A5, but that's been mainly for practicality, you know, because it's meant to be for gaming and stuff like that. But I think this will be like a reading tome, something to place upon your shelf and stuff like that. So I think I'd stick to A4. But I mean, would you guys be interested in backing a Kickstarter like that?
Yes. Yeah. At the Down Under stuff that you were saying about that you were thinking of doing after Trouble in the North.
Oh yes.
So I would say after you've done the 12 factions and you go about doing the book, having images of those of those new sculpts in, and bundle it in as a Kickstarter.
That's actually a really good idea, because like I have lots and lots of ideas for like more like faction, because obviously a lot of all the factions that I've done so far and plan to do are all kind of based in like the Arcworld version of Europe. And I have so many more ideas of characters and factions are kind of across Arcworld, and like I've always struggled to try and think of a way to try and introduce them into the game, because I'm like, well, I don't like do I do them on their own? Like, do I kind of do an expansion? But I think your suggestion is actually a really, really good idea, because I would almost market the book almost like a travel log of the explorer, and like all the places he's been and kind of characters and peoples that he's met along the way and stuff like that. So I think that can actually work incredibly well. So thank you very much for the suggestion. Oh, I'm excited now.
I suppose you could start the Almanac lore book with like the posters you were talking about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they could be like the first part of the ball rolling, the kind of poster. That little bit snippet of lore.
Yeah.
Those will collect together. Then you can fill in the gap.
Oh, absolutely. Like, and I'll probably put, as you said, I'll put the content that I do on the posters in the Almanac as well. As like, and I think that would help, especially for the first 12 factions, definitely. I got like, and if I think it's very wise what you said about what Oaken Bronze said. I think it was Oaken Bronze. Yes, it was. Who said actually work out the cost of the time it would take to research and write and illustrate and lay out the book and work it into the cost of the Kickstarter itself, and actually have that as like the main component where most of the funds are going to go to. Because I guess in that way, if I'm sculpting, like 4 or 5 or 6 factions at the same time, kind of factions that are outside of Upper Arcworld, it would kind of help buoy up those funds. Yeah, I think that idea definitely has legs. Oh, let's just check the chat. Led Adventure Forum, Oaken Bronze is saying, Led Adventure Forum has a commercial board where people can post what they have for sale, new releases, etc. So that could work. Jonas is saying, I remember you talking about Land Down Over expansion. I was especially intrigued by the marsupial troll. Yeah. So I know I've spoken about them before on the streams, but for those of you who aren't aware, like one of my big ideas for an expansion was for a country in Arcworld called Bonzoland, and it's kind of like, imagine a cross between Australia and the Wild West. So it would be very much kind of spaghetti western bandito aesthetic, but mixed in with like the weird and wackiness of like the nature and animals and stuff of Australia, and kind of like the humor, like the kind of the humor and in jokes of it as well. I've had this idea for years and years and years, and like I was always quite worried that because it's quite a weird concept that it wouldn't really do very well. Like I'd only be doing it because I think it was quite fun. And that's one of the big risks about this, like being a creative as a job, is like it's very difficult to differentiate between what you're doing because you think it's cool and what you're doing because it's actually going to be successful commercially. Because at the end of the day, this is my big hobby of mine, and I love creating, but I've got to pay my bills. So it is something that I do have to consider. But I think this idea of kind of integrating it within this greater kind of Arcworld Almanac expansion would work quite well. Oh, did you say something, Dad?
No. But Jonas has said I remember you talking about Down over expansion. I was especially intrigued by.
I've already covered this, Dad.
Marsupial troll.
I've already covered this. You see, if you kept by your seat, you would have heard. I did a whole spiel about it.
I had to go and get a drink.
Oh, yeah, excuses.
Mate. Pepsi Max.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. So, does anyone else have any more questions about Arkworld?
Not Arkworld directly, but when's the Evil Dwarf Kickstarter coming back?
Well, so when I released it, it didn't quite get the response I was hoping for it to get. So it basically, you know how like in spaghetti westerns when like there's like a tumbleweed that drifts across the screen. That's basically a summary of the response to my next fantasy football concept, and I was a little bit disheartened by how the last one did. Especially now that second edition has been launched and that's being worked on, something that I really have to consider when planning projects is, could I use the time that it would take to do this to make another faction for Arkworld? And if I did do that, would that be more financially successful than if I did it? Because I think the difficult thing is with fantasy football is that there are so many companies out there doing Kickstarters, and it's incredibly difficult to try and compete with them. You know, there's like one every few weeks. So I don't know. I've shelved the project for now. Like, luckily, I kind of nipped it in the bud quite early on when it basically got, crickets when I posted it. So, the files are still there. It was a model that I sculpted digitally, and it only really took me a morning to do, so I'm not completely heartbroken. But it'd be interesting to see if things change. Like, one of my ideas would be to potentially do the team actually as a part of my Patreon. So one of the months would be that team or half of that team or whatever, but from the research that I've done, there doesn't seem to be that much fantasy football content on Patreon. Like, the vast majority of players do prefer to just buy proper IRL miniatures rather than the files, which is completely understandable. But that obviously takes a lot of time and effort. Running a Kickstarter, promoting that Kickstarter takes, the eye away from the other projects that I'm working on. So, I don't know. I mean, Alex, I thought, were you interested in the Evil Dwarves? Because I thought you only played the video game of Blood Bowl.
I've only played the video game so far. There was a lockdown situation that happened as I was getting into it.
Yeah.
But my wallet is relieved. More Arkworld is good.
Because I think oh, sorry.
Sorry, my wallet isn't.
Because I think another thing about oh, hello.
My wallet isn't. You little gits.
Hey.
Jokingly,
very nice.
Because that's the thing. Like, when I do something for Arkworld, not only am I creating more miniatures, but I'm expanding on the world. I'm expanding on the lore and the game and stuff like that. Whereas if I'm doing a team for Warp Team Fantasy Football, it kind of exists in its own little bubble and doesn't contribute to the greater kind of I can't think of the right word. I don't know. You guys know what I mean. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe if there's a bit of a quiet period going forwards, I might do it. But there's always that ticking clock of our Games Workshop going to get there first. Which the answer is probably going to be yes.
I think the most important thing, Alex, is to concentrate your efforts in Arkwell. I mean, the football thing is, it's there, isn't it? And it's there to be what seems to move on long so far. I think that, these guys that we're talking to now and here, are in Arkwell. That's why they joined us tonight. And the people watching YouTube, I think your efforts need to be concentrated on Arkwell. Alex is right what he says.
Well, absolutely. I mean,
that's my
yeah. I mean, I started the Warp Team Fantasy Football as kind of like a second range to work on in conjunction with Arkworld to kind of give me, something different to work on rather than work on the same thing. But I found Digital Workshop has kind of tickled that fancy, so I don't really have time to do it anymore. So, Arkworld will always be my number one priority. No matter what other projects I have, no matter what else I work on, the game and the world that I've created and that you guys are invested in is always going to be the thing that I put all my efforts into. Because it's my baby. I'm looking forward to the next Kickstarter though, because the Imperials, are one of my favourites. They're one of my favourites, so I have lots and lots of ideas. It's going to be great.
Somebody said in his hand there.
Just take my money now. Take my money now. Just give me enough plastic every month. I'll be fine.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I think it's quite clever doing one faction at a time as well.
Oh really?
Because I'll be like, I want my fix. I'll get those ones. But when you give me a choice, I'm like, I'll just pick one.
Well, this is something that I've been trying to weigh up. It's like, is it better to kind of do smaller, more regular Kickstarters, or do kind of big lump Kickstarters with 2 or 3 or more factions at the same time? So I'm going to do an experiment for these next 3 and see where I go. It also gives me an opportunity to sculpt some more big monsters, which I'm quite happy about. So I think for the Imperials, I'll probably finish up the Giantess, kind of release that in conjunction with them. For the Bayorks, I'll probably be doing the Swamp Wyvern, which is a creature that I designed years and years and years ago, and has never seen a release. I tried sculpting it literally about 7 years ago, but I wasn't quite happy with the model. So that's going to be getting a new one. And then for the Gremlins, I'm going to do some funky jungle monsters as well. You guys will be seeing a return of the Death Kiwis. So that will be fun.
Yeah. So what about the Jabberwocky?
The Jabberwocky?
Jabberwocky.
Sorry, I've been reading old forums again.
Well, you see, that actually was sculpted for a different gaming company, so I don't have rights to that.
No, but you make a new one.
Oh, no. Once again, that is the property of another gaming company, and therefore I have no claim over it. But I do have lots of creatures that I have concepts for, that I have designed over the years, that I'm going to be reintroducing, or introducing potentially for the first time to the range. So you guys have a lot to look forward to, and I have a lot to look forward to too, because I love making monsters. Oh yeah. There's nothing.
By the way, we have a special guest in the chat, the Lion Tower Mini.
Oh, Dan's here.
He said, yeah. It says that small regular Kickstarters is easier for the wallet and more likely to actually paint stuff. So that's the way to go. The single faction Kickstarter is the better option.
Yeah. So for those of you in the chat, but also on the stream, Liontail Miniatures was Dan who I was talking about earlier, the gentleman who helped me get into ZBrush. So hello, Dan. Nice to see you on the chat. But yeah, like I think I do. Oh, Jacko is saying, sorry I'm late, guys. Do you want anyone else on the camera? Come on, come and say hi. Come on. I know you're not that shy. But what else is in the chat? Yeah, Liontail Miniatures. You've been talking about me. All good, I hope. Well, you can double check by watching the stream back once it's kind of put onto YouTube. But don't worry, only lovely things. Only lovely things. But yeah, like I have lots of cool things planned for Arcor that I'm really, really excited about. I think it'll just be really interesting. As I was saying before in the stream, like it's going to be really interesting how like the gaming environment is going to change potentially. Like with people not really being able to meet up to play games with their gaming clubs and stuff like that. Like, because one of my big plans kind of going forwards was kind of to do like an Arc World tour where I would like travel to different gaming clubs in the country to kind of show off the game, introduce people to the miniatures and the world and stuff, go to lots of trade shows and things like that. But this has kind of put a bit of a dampener on all of that, so I don't think I'll be really going to any at all. So it's completely, changed the entire kind of trajectory of where I was planning for this year to go. I mean, like...
I think that's over the next one, Alex.
Yeah, I think so too. But even then, until there's a vaccine, I'm not even sure if people are going to feel safe going to these big trade shows. You know how crammed it is, like a Vatman attack, especially when you have all like the people who are immunocompromised going there as well. Like I'm really not sure how the kind of the market is going to change.
Well, it's a way off. Time. It's now only.
Your signal is not very good, Dad.
There's no there.
I think because Mum's probably trying to watch the exact same stream in the house, your bandwidth is going a bit like. Aah!
Yeah, she's watching on YouTube.
Well, send her a text and tell her to turn it off and see whether that improves things. I mean, how is it for you guys? Like for me, it's like. Is
it okay? I must have no problem then, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, you'll be able to see. You'll be able to see for yourself on the stream.
Yeah, that attack's 8 months away, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
so
about 8
I would have liked
away.
to have passed normality by then, hopefully. Who knows?
It's so like difficult to predict, and it's like I'm trying to think of ways that I can kind of introduce the game to people, because obviously with the miniatures you can show them on social media and stuff like that, but in terms of the actual game itself, I think that's why eventually I'm quite keen to do kind of gaming streams and stuff like that to try and introduce the mechanics and stuff to people and try and get that kind of the experience of playing a game, because I think that's something that's quite unique to board games, war games, like tabletop RPGs. Is you are sat across a table with a friend or someone, and you're there and you're talking and things like that, and that's something that video games didn't have. But now the whole kind of in-person thing has been taken away, so I'm not sure how else to kind of promote tabletop gaming. I mean, have any of you guys actually had chance to play games remotely with people? Because one of the things that we've been doing in the Huntley Smith household is that I've been playing D&D with my regular group online. So my DM has like a face cam, but he also has a kind of a cam on his tabletop where he moves the miniatures and stuff like that. And my girlfriend Wing, she's also just started DMing a campaign, and she's done the same thing, and it's worked quite well. So it'd be interesting to see if that setup works for Arcworld as well.
Played a few games on Tabletop Simulator.
How did you find it?
Depending on the game. Played a lot of Star Wars Legion on it. That works quite well. We've also, my local role-playing group, we're doing Star Wars at the moment. We've basically nicked bits out of the Legion TTS and put that on there. That's worked okay. But it does depend very much on other people, because it's very easy for someone just to suddenly disappear if their bandwidth gets bad. And that's really irritating. But otherwise, it'd be pretty good.
Yeah, interesting. Has anyone else been able to kind of carry on their games with their gaming group at all?
I've been doing role plays on Roll20. That could be useful, but I think you need to add your own images somehow or something like that. There's basically just a big gridded piece of paper that you can change and add stuff to.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So we've been using it for role play. For tabletop wise, it might be a little bit difficult. But there's 3 kind of like tokens in a way of characters from top down.
Yeah, I think I've seen something like that, and making those top down tokens would, in theory, be quite easy for like. Oh, hello, Goblin. Oh, she's gone. Yeah, that would be quite easy to make, and I think as we're talking about Tabletop Simulator before, like you would be able to, I would be able to essentially just kind of take the cutouts of the miniatures, kind of put almost like standees, and kind of put them as things in the game. I mean, would you guys be interested in me potentially working on something like that as a way to play games during lockdown?
There is one out there, actually. Your old mate Garbo did one.
Oh, did he?
Him and me played it. Yeah, him and me played a few games. So I got a set for the 4 original factions: Halflings, Wild Elves, Albionicans, and Ewoks. Plus scenery and stuff like that. My big issue with Tabletop Simulator is it's kind of fiddly. Just to move a miniature was, it took most of the time just to move the miniature and try to roll the dice, because it was stuff you just pick up and do in real life was quite tricky. But the game works brilliantly.
Was that?
Of course, with
Sorry, do you mean like the game as in like Tabletop Simulator, or the game as in Arcworld?
Arcworlds.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it works brilliantly on Tabletop Simulator, but the simulator was fiddly, because it requires a lot of different buttons to press in order, and zooming and moving and panning and stuff like that. It was, but yeah, it's beside that, it was brilliant.
Interesting. So do you think it might be worth kind of taking another look at that for 2nd edition?
It could be a way to just, I think anyways, just to try play a game or 2 with it, just to see what to think of it, and being able to set up like a weekender thing, maybe, like online weekender.
Yeah, that's an idea. That could be quite good. So kind of similar to the kind of the thing that we did for like the Salute weekend, where that was cancelled, where kind of did lots of like video chats and kind of hangouts and stuff like that. Very interesting. Like, I'll definitely have to take a look at that, because I think in theory, like, Tabletop Gaming Simulator does sound really, really good. So, I mean, I say this, I have no idea when I'm going to have time to do it. It's fine. I'll find time. Like, if there is like a massive outcry for it, like, I mean, I'll put it to you guys on the stream, put it to you guys in the chat. I might actually do a poll on the Ark World Facebook group as well, because that's normally quite a good way to kind of read the pulse of things. Whether or not it would be worth the time putting it into Tabletop Simulator, or whether it would be, easier for people to kind of use their own miniatures at home and kind of do it over video conference. Like, if you had your figures on the board, and then kind of count as models to represent your opponents, and then they would tell you what they're doing, and you would kind of move their models accordingly, or their kind of representations accordingly, and then you could kind of play a game. I mean, I'm not sure if that would work or not. What do you guys think?
I think the biggest struggle with that would be something along the lines of getting the scenery identical.
Yeah.
I mean, it would take... Sorry. No, sorry.
The best way is probably how you did it, is one person has the miniatures, and you either had someone else like chatting. So I know on Tabletop for Ulia Chronicles, they had one person have the setup, and the creator was actually on video call letting the other guy move all the miniatures.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I was suggesting before. So I think that could work quite well. So maybe be doing that next week. So that could be, I think that's next week's stream. I'll get 2 of you guys from the community who fancy having a game. One side will be Beast Folk. The other side will be Undead Raiders. So I will do like a kind of a thread on the Arkworld Facebook group later on in the week, and kind of to say who would be up for it, like who would like to kind of join in, and then if there's multiple people kind of fighting over, the position, I'll do like a random draw or something like that. Sound good?
You could always do it collaboratively as well. You could always do it couple people working together if it's a demand.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I could even do like a 4-way battle where you've got 4 factions, kind of 2 teaming up. So it could be like, I don't know, or it could be like almost like it could either be like 2 factions teaming up against 2 factions. It could be like a free-for-all. So I mean, I'll have a think about it, and I'll let you guys know later on in the week, and I'll get it organised, and then see if you guys want to get involved. It's exciting. I might end up introducing some monsters in there just to cause a bit of chaos. And then I think, obviously, because like I've got so many models, so I think what I would do is I would pre-make the warband list, kind of based on what I've got, and then it kind of makes sure that each of the factions are the same gold points costs and things. But I mean, this is all stuff that I'll have a bit of a think about later on, but I'm excited. I think this could be really, really fun, and I'll try and like give some like narration and explanation of the rules and stuff, because I think obviously there's quite a few people that have never played Arkworld before who are going. I think there are some people out there that are a lot more au fait with the rules, who have played it and stuff like that. So I will be there kind of explaining what's going on to the viewers and stuff like that. So yeah, it should be exciting.
Read the live chat, Alex.
Pardon?
Read the live chat.
So Darth Vader RPG videoing conference works fine for my group, so that's cool. However, we are going to try ArkWorld tomorrow, but we do it in person, since over here 2 households are allowed to meet up. Brilliant. Whereabouts are you based, Dars? And Liontown Miniatures, Alex, you need to move out 6 inches to the right to set that halo in the right place. There we go, Dan. How's that look?
Simon.
So we've got about 10-15 minutes left. So do any of you folks on the stream or on the chat have any more questions about ArkWorld, or even any more questions about Digital Workshop or anything like that? Now is the time.
We've got bats in our garden, Alex. How about that? There's a conversation for you.
What's that?
We've got bats in our garden.
Bats in your front garden? That's
cool.
Cool.
Watching them flying around.
Ooh.
They are. That's a change of subject, isn't it?
That is quite cool.
Bats in the garden, yeah. I'm watching them now flying around.
Yeah. Speaking of bats, I think I'm probably going to have to introduce some bat swarms or some kind for the vampires, because it's tradition. It's tradition. I think, especially for the vampires, I really do want to kind of keep them oh, thank you very much. Cup of tea.
Sorry, I thought that was going to be Goblin for a second there.
Yeah, no. Oh, this is Goblin.
There she is.
There we go.
She is.
On that bombshell, the show ends.
Oh, yeah. So
why don't they get a bat sculpt or something and target it for launching it on Halloween?
Now that would be fun. If I because I think it would be really, really fun if I did the launch the vampires at Halloween. That would be sick, but I don't think I'll get the other factions ready in time. Because if I'm doing, if I do the sorry, I'd say that again.
So just make sure you get them to me well before that, so I can get.
I can't hear what you're saying, Dad.
I said make sure you get them to me in time so I can get them.
So I think you said make sure I get them sent to you in time so you can get them casted. Yeah. All right.
I'm nodding at.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think in terms of timelines for the next 3 Kickstarters, I'm aiming for the Imperial Kickstarter probably middle July. Because originally I was going to do it at the end of July because I was doing the Bayeux at the same time, so that will allow me to kind of get things launched a little bit quicker. In terms of the Bayeux, which will be next, hoping maybe around September. September sounds like a pretty good time. And then the Gremlins, perhaps November or December. I mean, I don't know. It very much depends on how long things take to sculpt, how long things take to cast and deliver and stuff like that. Depending on the kind of the size and the complexity, on the popularity of the Kickstarter. It could take an indeterminate amount of time to work on, but that's roughly the schedule for ArkWorld for the rest of the year. So it's going to be very, very fun. I'm very excited.
So what's the length of these Kickstarter? Will it be 2 weeks? Will they be longer? Will they have loads of stretch goals and yeah?
I think I'm probably going to keep them relatively short. So I'm thinking about 2 weeks. Would be around that, because then it gives people enough time to actually discover the Kickstarter, gives me enough time to promote it, In terms of stretch goals, I'll probably stick to just the contents of the faction itself. So the start set, then like the mage and the heavy and all that lot. I'll be doing a big monster for each of them as well, so that'll be a stretch goal. And I'll also be doing a miniature or a couple of miniatures for each of the other factions as well to be introduced. Like, for example, the model for the halflings that I'll be doing for the Imperials will be the Ram Riders. So customizable cavalry for the halflings. So you'll have the rams, but you also have the riders separate, so you can kind of switch and match them, so you can make quite a couple of different combinations. So because I feel like a mounted halfling warband would be pretty good. And especially because, like, over the years I've done so many mounted halflings that you probably genuinely could already do quite a decent mounted warband.
You can. It's been done.
So see if I can show you the...
I think there's about 4 or 5 at the moment, different sculpts.
See if I can... Can you see that? No, not really.
Very small picture, but
yeah. And then you've got like the mount on there as well. So I'll probably be doing about 3 of these guys. So you can have a proper little regiment going on. And then for the beast folk, I'll probably be doing some different species and stuff like that, so you can mix up the warband and get some diversity in there. For the elves, I might even do the Gravehorn that Jonas suggested earlier. And for the undead raiders, I'm thinking of introducing a new piece of equipment called the... I'm giving it quite a name yet, but essentially imagine like an undead Pied Piper. So obviously a big part of the undead raiders are the Carrion Rats. So this would be a piece of equipment you could potentially give to your Harbinger, where he would be able to essentially summon rats, control rats and swarms and stuff like that. And I have just quite a cool idea of the sculpt of kind of like a cocked hat and like the pipe and stuff, and like a swarm of rats kind of like coming in and among him. So that's probably going to be the models I'll be working on for the Imperials. So that's a little sneak peek there.
Are you just going to focus on the Oddworld 2 factions that have been released, or are you going to do, like, say, the Northfeld and like Dark Lords as well? You going to do one for them as well?
No. Just the Oddworld 2nd Edition factions for now.
Yeah.
So the Norse, we were talking about this a little bit earlier, but the Northfeld, the Dark Lords, and the Ancient Dead will be getting their kind of own release later down the line. Just because like they were the more recent sculpts.
That makes sense. Definitely makes sense. Yeah.
But I am excited to do those. I think because I have slight redesigns and stuff in mind. Like I also have I'm quite excited to introduce kind of count-as models as well. So there are a number of factions countries in Upper Arkworld which could be made by combining different factions but using different miniatures. So one of the big things in 2nd edition is that you can hire miniatures from other factions as swords for hire in your warband, so you don't have to stick to halflings. You can include Imperials in there, you can include Northfeld in there. So I'll be probably over the years sculpting, like, so there's like there's a country based on Germany in our world, called Herzogenland, and it's very much like the big billowing shirts and like the big kind of hats and stuff like that. But actually, in the lore, like it's kind of like a mixture of humans and halflings in their society. So what I would suggest is to represent them as a warband. You would hire models from both the Norsefield and the halflings and kind of combine them together in a faction, and then I would be releasing separate models for them visually that would look more like the style of the country, and that would be something I would probably do with the Arkworld Almanac. So that would be a way to kind of introduce the smaller nations that wouldn't have their own kind of unique faction rules, but you could kind of construct them using the existing ones and using them as like count-as models. So we've only got a few more minutes left. So like, if you do have any kind of final questions, like now is the time to get them in before we log off. Got about 2 minutes left.
How's the Boglin Bazaar going this time round?
In terms of the new models that we've just released, we'll say the old models we just released.
Yeah. How close are we to on the countdown?
I think we're about halfway there.
Sorry, say that again, Alex. I didn't quite catch what you said.
So with the Boglin Bazaar for the most recent models we've released, I said that once we've hit 15 sales of each one, that's when we'll be able to properly cast them and stuff like that. And I think we've sold about 7 so far of each. Like obviously the halflings have been a lot more popular than the Boglins, because halflings are halflings and everyone loves halflings, and I think the more kind of ardent collectors definitely like to have the full set. Like I think like Dagfin is immune to all this because he bought them when I originally made them 10 years ago.
That's not like Dagfin to do that.
I still didn't complete my collection until the Mercenaries came out. That was for like the missing bit.
Yes. So for those of you who aren't aware, Dagfin has literally every single halfling miniature that I've commercially released. Every one.
I'm sure I can see one that he hasn't got, Alex. I'm sure there must be one in that box that he has not got.
But
there's got to be.
But that's the thing. Nope. If it was in the box, it would have been molded. Alan would have. So Alan was one of my casters. He's a good friend of mine now. But if it was cast, it would have been released.
I'm looking for stuff that may not have been cast. There might just be something in there. But I mean, Dagfin's been great this week because I've been throwing photos at him, and he comes up with the names of them all, and he knows every single one, every single pose, the whole 9 yards. He knows more about your stuff, Alex, than you do.
I don't even argue against that. I mean, you guys know what I'm like. Like always look forward, never look back at what you've done. Yeah, but it is quite nice to kind of. I mean, I feel like I'm getting better with my old stuff at kind of looking at it and thinking it was a snapshot of where I was at the time. Like especially some of these models that I made when I was still at school. Like some of those Boglin Bazaar models, I was still at school in 2011, so it's really quite interesting. And actually, it is Warploque's 10th anniversary this year. So probably, I believe Dagfin did help me out with this. The first forum post announcing the name of Warploque Miniatures, I believe, was on the 7th of December. Was it, Dagfin?
I am thereabouts, because you mentioned it, and venue. It was like 2 or 3 dates, I think. Around early December.
Yeah.
Oh, did someone say something?
No, I was going to just answer to Alex Barclay's question. Alex, those Boggling Bazaar stuffs, mate, you're going to get them. You'll be getting them, mate. Don't you worry about that.
No,
and
it's
anybody
just
else on
how
here
much we
that
needed to push them on stream.
Yeah. Oh,
they're coming. They are on their way. Don't you worry, guys.
Okay.
I've overruled the gaffer.
But yeah, so the Warploque 10th anniversary, so the time when I actually launched my website for the first time was the 17th of December 2010. So I think it's going to be quite a big Christmas event this year. I think I'm going to make quite a big show of things. So I'm quite excited. So thank you very much for all of you guys who've been supporting me over the past 10 years. It's madness. I can't believe it. Right, so we are at the end of the stream now. So I'd like to say a big thank you to all of you guys on Skype for joining me for the chat. I hope you enjoyed yourself. And a big thank you to all of you guys in the chat for kind of joining in the discussion and just chilling out with us. Hope you've all had a lovely evening. But this same time again next week, 8 o'clock on Tuesdays. Chances are, as we've been saying, will probably be a gaming stream next. So I'll be organising that and finding people who want to get involved with having a game of ArkWorld. For those of you who aren't aware, I've got my Patreon running for my digital sculpts. You can find me on Patreon under Warploque Miniatures. I've got my website, which is on the description below. And yes, thank you very much for joining me, and I shall see you all again next week. So thank you very much, guys. Have a good evening.
Take care.
Nighty nights.